Okay, well, good evening, everyone. It is the night before my trip to Arkansas, and welcome to the mind of madness. I'm still doing last-minute bike maintenance and stuff like that. But what we're going to do tonight, I've already done it on the white one, which is parked over there. Changed out the variator, belt, and clutch assembly. Actually, on the white one, I didn't change out the clutch. But we're going to be installing the NCY Golden Variator Kit. It's what they call the Ultimate Transmission Kit or something like that. So it has the clutch, the new driven face or clutch bell, the variator, rollers, and driven face. So it's a whole kit. And then a fresh Honda CVT belt. They're $38 or something like that. So if you're in there, you might as well go ahead and put in a fresh belt when you're replacing all this other stuff. So this is that. It's not a hard process. It's just kind of it's a little tedious. You got to have a lot of different tools. And speaking of tools, this is one that I didn't have, so I had to make do. When you go to assemble these, they come not assembled. So this, I don't know if you can see that spring in there, but the big heavy spring is not installed. They don't ship it compressed. So you have to assemble this monkey. And this is a 39 millimeter nut on here. I didn't have anything that went up to 39 millimeters. Couldn't find any 39 millimeter sockets anywhere to buy. I looked everywhere. I had 38s, I had 40s, I had, everything in between, but not what I needed. So I just went and got a big crescent wrench and used a strap wrench, put some red Loctite on the threads here, and just cranked the ever-living you-know-what out of it. And it's on there. The manual calls for, I think it's 39 pounds force on this nut to lock it on there. I'm sure I've got at least that. So anyway, let's get to this. I'm hot, I'm dripping, and I want to get this done. So the exercise here is you've got a whole bunch of 8 millimeter little nuts or bolts rather that you have to zip out of here all the way around. And then you've also got to take off the bolts that secure this left side plastic. Now, you don't have to totally remove the plastic, but you do need to remove all the fasteners that tie it into the other pieces, so you can just pull it to the side. And that's really as far as you need to go. So why don't we just do that real quick. It's pretty straightforward, and I apologize if I'm not keeping you on camera. I'm trying to do and not waste too much time here. Oh. So first thing that's got to go is you just pop this little guy out. It's got these little squishy retention holes, and pull that out of there. There's going to be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 of these 10 millimeter bolts here. So we're going to crank these out. Just loosen them up a little so I can get them out with my fingers. Okay. I'm going to try to angle you up a little bit here. Should have brought my little magnetic parts holder out here, but I missed. Much faster. 4 of those, and then a whole bunch of Phillips screws. I think there's 6, 7 of them, something like that. Pull these out. Don't need that one. That one is the spark plug and valve check hole. Maybe just spark plug, I can't recall. And then the fun part, in just a second, is we got to get under the front of it here. And I don't know that I'll be able to get you on camera for that, but we'll try. There are a couple of little pop clips that have to come out of this lower panel down here. And I'm just going to use a screwdriver to pop them in. These are the little one-way clips. You push them in and then release all the tension from them, and you can dig them out with your fingernail or a flat blade screwdriver. Don't think we need to take the middle one out, but we definitely need to take that left side one. So See if I can hold you on camera and do it with the other hand here. Doink. And can he do it without tearing his fingernail off? That is the question. Sorry, you guys aren't seeing anything, are you? Oh, coming out of there. Okay. So how these work is when you push them all the way in like that, they don't expand here and have tension. So to reset it, you push that all the way down, put it back in there, and pop the clip closed. But we're not going to do that yet. Okay. Okay. Oh, I forgot one more 10mm. It's right here behind the kickstand. Okay. So that's the beginning of the plastic nightmare. The next bit is you just kind of lift this up. There's a little boss that it sits on in there, and you want to pop this lower panel loose from the plastic by kind of rolling it downward like this, and it'll just pop free from all the clips all the way up, and you don't need to go any further than that. The reason we had to do all this is because we have to get to the variator nut that's on the driven pulley up here, or the drive pulley I should say, and then all these other 8mm monkeys. So let's do it to it. When you've done this a few times, it only takes about 30 minutes to change a belt on the PCX, and you can extend that maintenance out to you know, the clutch and variator and everything else if you need to. But it is unfortunate that you have to take all this off to get to it. So if you had to do this on the side of the road, it would suck. I hope I never have to experience that, but you know, it's always possible. I don't know if you guys are seeing anything at all. I apologize. There are long ones and short ones, and I'll show you the long ones. All the ones going around the perimeter on the outside are silver for everything, except for these three on the front vent cover here that are black. The two that are long are this one and this one here. So when you put them back in, you'll figure it out. If you try to run that long one in somewhere, it's not going to fit. We've got one that's holding the brake line here. It's a support bracket. Okay, so that's most of that. We can take the vent cover off of there. It's just a ventilation. Hey, I got a leaf in there. Cool. Good thing I cleaned that out, eh? All right, so now we got another one. I don't know if you can see from where you are, right here in the front. And another one down here. So having this panel loose and flopping around really helps to be able to reach in there and get a hold of stuff. A couple of those are the shorties, and I'll show you those when we go back in, but it's basically these three around the front edge there are short ones. Okay. And that should be that. So now if we just give it a little love tap, comes right off. And now is the time to hit some brake cleaner and, you know, hose this out in there pretty good, which is what I will do in a few moments. But first, I'll set that over out of my way, and we're gonna get in here and get this out. I have to show you a couple of custom tools, or one custom tool that I made in order to do this. I actually made this tool for my Silver Wing a long time ago, because the Honda tool to do it was $180 or something for the little it's a holder that grabs a hold of the outer face of your variator here and goes into these pins, so you can torque this down, and it also helps to hold your clutch. But yeah, whatever, I am skipping that entirely, and I've got my own homemade recipe. Okay, let's see what we got. Nope, that is the, I'm doing a 7/8. I'm breaking the rules here. This is metric, but I didn't have a metric. But this is a 6-point, and it's just barely loose. I forget what that is. I think it's a 21 or something, but I didn't have one that fit quite like I wanted, so we're just making do. Actually, I think I'll take that extension off and we'll just do this. Now, these little hammer drills are great as long as it's got enough torque to bang that thing loose. I don't have to go get the breaker bar. There it goes. Putting it on with this little Ryobi is surprisingly close to the torque that it needs on the on side, you know, going back in, which is 44 pounds. It puts it in at about 50, which is close to right. Okay, don't want to confuse these. We're going to get the, I think it's a 19 for the back here. Yep. So to do a belt change, you do have to take the clutch out of it, because you can't get the clutch out of the housing without removing it out of there. Kind of a pain in the butt. So both these have to come off in order to swap a belt or to do anything else. So first I'm going to pull this out. Now this is my 2016 PCX, and it's all stock in here. I didn't have roller weights or, you know, DrPulley sliders or anything like that in here. So this is a stock clutch and variator set, and it's probably going to go with us on the trip, so just in case anything goes sideways, I've got a backup. Put that over there. Ooh, nice and dusty in there. Chunky. That's belt dust and detritus that gets kind of caked up from being in the clutch, heat and pressure. Okay, so pull the variator out with the drive boss, and you want to grab it from behind like I did here and hold it together, because if you just pull this out, then your roller weights and everything are going to fall apart inside the drive housing there. And what I'll do is I'll just open this up so you can see the inside. If you've never seen the inside of a variator, that's it. These roller weights under centrifugal force will spin outward and upward, and that raises this to basically pinch your drive belt. If I can get this thing back together. It pinches your drive belt closer up on this outer face and makes the belt ride higher up in the groove here to give you a higher effective gear ratio. So we're going to set that over here, keep it all together. And now I'm probably going to pause for a moment, go grab my towels and hose this thing out. I've got some compressed air and brake cleaner, and I'm just going to pretty it up in here a little bit before I start throwing the new stuff in. Let me give this thing a blowjob. And don't breathe this stuff in. I'm sure it's not good for you. Yucky. Should have put a mask on. Okay then. Now, that much is kind of done. Grab my dirtiest of the three rags I brought over here. Some brake clean. Normally I use the non-chlorinated stuff, but all I had was the chlorinated one. It'll work. Ooh, look at that. Yeah. Belt dust. And road grime and whatever else builds up in here over time. Yikes. I don't like hosing everything down in here with brake cleaner because you get into the seals and stuff like that and you're just asking for trouble. It does have some lubricant on a few items in here. Normally these CVT housings are pretty dry. You don't want lube in there of any kind because it wreaks havoc with your belt and your clutch. But there is a little bit of oil or grease on this shaft here. And sometimes people will put graphite on the engine output shaft, but I don't. I just leave them dry. The problem with any of those lubes is once they mix with the belt dust in there, they get real gooey and crunchy, and it's nasty. Causes problems with your variator. Anyway, and I usually use the plastic rollers in my, or sliders in my variators, so they don't need lube. They're self-lubricating. Okay, now when you're handling these things, never touch the shoes or that bell, or even the drive face if you've got oily, cruddy fingers. So hold them by the edges, and even then I'll usually wash my hands or something before I put them together. Hold them by the outsides and try not to gunk them up. Okay, so new belt. Same goes with the belt. Don't want to get it greasy. Now, there used to be differences on the direction. I don't believe there is on these, but what I'm doing is I'm following the theme of the factory installation here, because this is straight out of the Honda guidebook here. So the letters are facing me in this one. If this is the outside, it says Honda, Bandu, whatever. On my other one, my 2015, the belt was Wahoo. It was turned around the other way, so I don't think it really matters. So let's see if I can get a hold of this clutch without getting it all skanky. Now, this is a tricky bit. When these rear drives, the pulleys haven't been compressed, your belt doesn't sit far enough down in there to allow you to really do much with it. So what I usually do is I just squeeze the what out of it and try to get it seated down in there a little bit, and then I do it again once I get this guy, watch out mosquito, once I get this guy kind of in there, because see, right now I can't even get the clutch in because the belt is not riding far enough down. So let's see what I can do without touching those shoes. I'm trying to get that. I can kind of get it started, but it really doesn't want to. All right, now I'm going to cut a lot of this out. There it goes. Okay, I just sunk it in there about 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and that should be enough clearance to get me in there. Yeah, there it goes. If I can hit a spline now, I'm good. Oh yeah, it hits it. All right, so yeah, it is. I mean, it is just right on it. I don't know if you can see that. All right, here we go. So now I've got the outer drive bell here. I'm hoping I didn't get those clutch shoes all dirty, so let me just verify that, huh? Just to be safe. Wipe them down with a little bit of brake cleaner. There we go. And this guy. And that is the side. Okay, so this one needs 40 foot-pounds. The front one needs 44. So what's going to happen here is I just hit it with the impact, and then I'm going to go back with my homemade tool. Okay, let's see how close that got it. We need 40. Ooh, I'm already on it. Look at that. 40. It must have been the last one I did last time on the other bike. Okay, so I'll show you my homemade tool. This is my homemade tool for the variator. So it'll clip into the prongs on the outside of the variator, but it also works well for this. You just find a couple of holes in the driven face, or sorry, the clutch bell there, and it'll hold it still, wedge it to the ground, and you can put torque on it. And it won't go anywhere. Oh, it was right on. I only gave it a tiny bit of torque, so the impact drill got it right at 40. Nice job. Okay then. I torqued my torque my screws all out. That's okay. Don't care. It'll work just fine, and it's cheap. I can make another one. All right, so this needs to go up here on the front. Yeah, actually, let's get the variator in there first. And where is we? There we is. And where's my drive boss? Row. Gotta pause. Drive boss didn't make it over here with me. Maybe I'm supposed to use the original. No, I think it came with one. So the DrPulley version came with its own drive boss, but this one did not. So we're going to be reusing the OEM drive boss. Okay, so we'll slide this guy in there. And you hold the back of the variator together. Keep all your rollers in there. This came with 13-gram rollers. And we're just going to slide the variator in on the engine output shaft, keeping it tight until it reaches all the way to the back so your rollers or sliders don't fall out if you're using sliders. And then, without touching anything again, oh, hey, this doesn't have the little pins, so my homemade tool might not work too well, but that's all right. So what we do is get the belt up and over, if it'll let go. Come on now. There it goes. Oh, maybe. Oh, maybe. There we go. I got to get that thing down in that pulley a little bit better. They've got a very tight spring on this thing. Much tighter than factory. Okay. Hope I keep you on camera here for this. And set that in there all the way, and that's it. We run the nut in, get it torqued up to 44 foot-pounds, which is going to be just letting the gun do its thing, because it puts it right at about 45 to 50 every time. And what I do is I roll this a little bit manually because the belt will kind of get in the way. Gets pinched up in there. Yeah, see, it's not quite totally seated yet. It holds the drive face out a little bit. So what we're going to try to do is turn the engine over one rotation by hand without getting pinched. Come on, turn. Oh, turn. There it goes, past compression stroke. Okay, so now we can hit it again with the impact. That's it. I guarantee it's done. Good enough. Now, buttoning it back up. Oop, I guess I should blow this out, huh? So same goes for this. There's a sealed bearing in here. You don't really want to soak that with carb cleaner or brake cleaner or anything like that. I just wipe it out manually. Just to get the schmutz out of there. Just to get the edges of around that bearing cleaned up, that's all. Don't want to soak those things in brake cleaner because you can break down the grease that's in there if it gets past the seals. Okay then. I'm not going to bother making the outside of it pretty yet because I'm going to give the bikes a wash before I head out tomorrow. Alright, so let's get the there are some locating pins. They either stay in here or they stay in there. But you just get the locating pins lined up and everything pops right back together. Come on now. There it goes. There it goes. It's a very tight fit. So I'll put these long ones in the outer cover here. And at first I just run them in by hand because I don't like using the impact gun for that, in case you're cross-threading or anything. It's good to know that you're in the threads first before you just do a full tilt boogie on them. Get the medium length ones and run those in. Ooh, mosquitoes are flying high tonight. Alright, so that's it for the mediums, and then the rest of them are the shorties that go here and around there. So let's get that outer cover back on there. Oh, nope, sorry. Jumping ahead of myself. I've got the shorties around the perimeter. Can't see from where I'm sitting. There's one. There's another one. I don't put the bottom one in yet because I need to run that guy in with it. And I'm actually going to be changing the oil on these bikes tonight too, but I got to warm it up first. And I always pop this one right here when I do the oil change because I can slide that cable out of the way, and there's your drain, or your filter anyway. It drains on the lower side of the motor. So let's get that one in there. Okay then. Go ahead and put this guy in just for completeness. Okay. Okay, there we go. Oh, there are so many mosquitoes out here. I'm gonna look like pepperoni tomorrow. Okay, they're all in. Now, put the cover back on, and this variator is done. Variator, clutch, the whole thing. And then I just button up the plastics, and I'll show you a little shortcut to that, or the trick to it anyway, because you've got to kind of maneuver that plastic back in the way that it came out. You roll it up and onto the hooks in this lower side covers. Oh, there are so many mosquitoes out here right now. I'm just sitting here in a sea of mosquitoes. There's probably 15 of them swarming me right now. I'm gonna smell good. Get out of my face. Okay then. And the side cover, or the bolts around this thing don't need to be torqued in very tight. That's why I'm just hitting them lightly. I think it's 12 foot-pounds or something like that. They don't need to be very tight. Okay, here we go. So let me get this stuff out of the way so I'm not laying on it. And over here you go. First and foremost, I'm going to put in that front lower clip. I don't know if you guys can see it, but you just have to make sure you push the plastic in and your tabs are lined up down here before you do it. And you just slide that guy in and hit the little click, and that's it, done. Now, this is a little more ornery to get these lined up. You have to roll down, push up, and slide in, and you got to get the front one started first, and then all the rest of them will kind of fall into place. Let me get this out of my way. Getting the first one started is the trick. See if I can get it to behave here. There it goes. Okay, so that was one. Nope, that one's not going yet. There it is. There it is, and there it is. Next, push up and in. See if I can get that to line up back here first. Now, when you're putting all the bolts back in, my trick to this is, there it goes. My trick to this is I set this rear one because it kind of stretches the panel back and helps keep everything else in line while you're screwing all these down. So we'll do that now. And you got to kind of stretch it, and these are shoulder bolts, if you didn't notice that already. So this is a guide that centers the plastic up. So you have to kind of make sure you're not compressing your plastic. You want to be going down through the hole. Okay. That one is lined up. My toddler's making monkey noises tonight. Sounds like an angry chimpanzee. Okay. Put that one in, and that one in. There we go. That's cross-threading. The bosses are going through properly. Ah, 4 mosquitoes at once. Okay then, let's use the drill, get done with this quicker. Okay, that's that. Phillips screws and the rubber coating, or rubber cover, I should say. And I dismantled my Phillips and don't know what I did with it. There it is. There it is. I'm gonna have so many mosquito bites. Oh my god. It's really humid tonight and there's not much air moving around. There's a bird sitting over here on my chair. What you doing, buddy? It's gonna eat some of the dog food. Wow, it took a whole chunk of dog food. Crazy. My dog isn't eating it, so hey, somebody will make it go. Won't go to waste. Somebody will make it disappear. Okay then, that's all the screws. Now the rubber pad only goes on one way, and that ain't it. There we go. And you just line these little rubber nubs up and they pop right in. There's another one, and there's another one, and the last one. They're all in. Cool. Yeah, toddler's in a tear tonight. Boy, she's in a bad mood. Okay, so that's it. Variator's done. It's all put back together. Plastics are intact. All the tabs are in. Nothing broke. That's the shortcut that I've used on these PCXs for a while. Don't try to pull that whole side cover off if you don't have to, because there are some tabs in the front that are a little fragile. So you just undo all the screws, loosen it up, and pull it free, and then you've got plenty of access to the variator back here and the belt. See y'all later. Now I got to do oil changes and get these things ready for the road tomorrow morning.